All right, let's answer some questions. Here we go. Viewer questions. Okay. This is from Indef. Right around the big awakening, reflections just started popping into my visual field. Constantly clarifying reflections seems to be a thing, along with crazy synchronicity sometimes. Beautiful. This one is from Eves. Who's? Who? I can't read that one, sorry. Angelo, there's an urge for a question. In your earlier videos, there was the background of space, moving colors. Did it have a purpose? Glimpse into reality, getting attention of creative mad minds. Yeah, mind-based. And why did you change it into the studio? Well, it was already in the studio. That's a green screen you're talking about, using green screen with video behind. And I haven't done it in a while. It's been probably 6 months or so since I've made a video like that. Don't know why. Just changed what I'm doing, or it's just evolved somewhat. I may do some of those again. We'll see. Don't know. Thanks for commenting there. This is from Kebab Scat. Kebab's Cat? I love you so much for helping me see. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome. You're very welcome. I woke up, but too late to pick up the pieces at 45. Lost faith in God after a prolonged battle to save a loved one. For the first time in my life, I was concentrated and went to the brink of exhaustion, and in the end, lost. The loss also gave me a picture of how much I have fallen behind and the resentment for pursuing spirituality since I was a kid. Yeah, all of this, it's kind of a mixture of some very deeply rooted emotional experiences, like grief, maybe some shame, resentment, and interpretations of why they're there. So we still sometimes will try to not realize it, but we try to like keep ourselves stabilized in the mind with interpretation of why that grief is there. But the truth is, you don't actually know why the grief is there. How could you know? It could be interpreted a different way, right? So deep sadness, grief, loss, letting go, tragedies lead us to this. If we're able to actually let go of all those interpretations, then the complete dissolution of all illusions is so close. The complete dropping of the identity structure is so close. As long as we have this little bit of interpretation saying it's because of this, it's like keeping you tied into a story a little bit. But what if you just let go of all of it and just feel it fully, just die into those emotions? That's the next step. Thank you for your comment. This is from Dolores. If you want an apology, give it to yourself. The world can never be more or less than what you're believing it to be. That's great. I love it. And it is true about the world. The world is what it is. Adding and subtracting to or from experience is all an illusion. Can't be done. And when you see that clearly, oh man, to die into the splendor of non-duality, let's call it that. That which is boundlessly clear, boundlessly without other, boundlessly without center or edge or specific direction, free of all fixation. It's a love affair that you can just engage in for the rest of your life, the rest of your relative life. Cool. Someone said here, in a dream, you have no control of what happens. While not sleeping, there is the illusion of control. That may be one of the defining characteristics of what we call like agreed upon waking consciousness, is the illusion of agency, but it is an illusion. And some people can dream lucidly, right? Become aware of the dream such that it feels like you're in control. It feels like you're awake in the dream, so to speak. This is from Mel. Angelo, I get the sense that you are able to occupy the absolute or relative to various degrees and knowingly. Is that true? So the relative and absolute only become anything if I open my mouth about them. Otherwise, there's no distinction between relative and absolute. Isn't that great? So you could say that one when there is not one when there's not a perception of a separate self, could occupy the relative and absolute, relative or the absolute, and very fluidly move between. But even that is just sort of saying too much. It's valuable from a certain point of view, valuable perhaps as one is being pointed the way deeper into insight, but at some point you'll even abandon that. You have to, because there's no actual relative and actual absolute. Someone said, same person says, sometimes you're laughing and joking, and it seems like you are being a mind. I'm not sure. I can laugh and joke and not be a mind, that's for sure. And other times I can feel it in your voice that you are just being the emptiness. Yeah, I don't know if I can make those distinctions, because like right now, I could laugh, I could sound serious, but nothing actually changes. There's nothing behind it. There's just laughter, or there's just seriousness, or there's just deep calm, or there's just movement. Everything is just as it is. Very simple. That's kind of how it turns out. But your questions are good. They're helpful, I think, to deepen your own insight, to clarify your own insight. But I would look into your own experience and not worry about mine so much. Really, with these questions, look into your experience. What do you find as the absolute? What do you find as the relative? Where do they meet? How do you know they're distinct, right? Look closer, closer, closer. This is all about close observation, precise looking, and deep letting go. all of the same sort of movement at some point, but if you have one without the other, it'll either be too tense or too heady, or just too unconscious. So there's a happy medium there. Intention and surrender, as I sort of mentioned in the book. David Karst refers it. Okay, this is Deselum's group. I should stop reading names, because most of them I can't even pronounce. I don't know if it's one word or two words or what. So this person says, David Karst refers to it this way: in perfect brilliant stillness, it's a convenience of language and somewhat allegorical, I guess, considering that the universal consciousness that encompasses everything. I would question that there is a universal consciousness that encompasses everything, because it's kind of dualistic, right? That there's some substance called consciousness and it's containing other things. A lot of people do this with awareness, right? There's formless awareness. Okay, well, what about that, right? What about this stuff? What is that? Is that awareness? Is it not awareness? Is awareness aware of it from a distance, right? That's when we really start investigating deeply and look into the nature of perception itself, non-duality. Anyway, so it says, considering that the universal consciousness that encompasses everything could be considered the dreamer, and everything is happening within the dream. It's still subject and object, but it helps someone consider the nature of their being, that there really isn't anything happening, and that this is why past and future are not real. Yeah, whatever leads you to that insight, that's great. And the insight doesn't even have to have a definition. The insight that I'm talking about doesn't have to even have a label at all. When it's clear for you, it doesn't matter. Labels won't matter at all. Everything drops. And it's a beautiful, placeless place to be. Okay, thank you. This is from John B. So there is no body when I gaze outward. Indeed, there is just the scene. But if I look down at the body, touch the body, okay, here's where the assumptions have already started. Have you noticed, the person asking this question, that in this part of your sentence, this is just the second clause of the sentence, maybe. But if I look down at the body, touch the body. So you understand, interpretation is already happening here. Very important. Okay? All right. Feel sensation in the body. There seems to be a body, ... Well, because you've already interpreted that that's what's going to happen, right? But let me ask you this. When you gaze outward, there's just the seen. When you feel the sensations of the body, there's just the felt. When your gaze turns to this direction, there's just the seen. Gaze is down here, there's just the seen. It doesn't change. Body's a thought. Body's an interpretation. It's a label. So if you don't label out here, why do you have to label down here or here or here? What is that before it's a hand, right? What is that before it's a collection of labels and memories? What is it? There are really wonderful koans about that. One in particular. Okay. Idea page. That beginning question opens new possibilities. Wonderful. Oh, they're talking about this video. This is all that is. I honestly don't remember the question, so you'd have to check out that video. Same person. Oh, no, different person. This is Chris Hayes says, oh, my failure. It hit me like a punch in the gut. I'm not a failure. I am failure. I like that. Yeah, the sense of I will fail. The sense of I, the distinct one, the separate one, the real one, in opposition to what's not real, in opposition to what's not I, in opposition to what's maybe not moving through time, it's going to fail because it's dualistic and it's an illusion. Yeah. Pretty cool. May not feel good when that happens, but it also may feel awesome. We'll see, won't we? It's a mystery. When the illusion falls, when the illusion's dispelled, you can't know what's on the other side of that. And that's awesome. Beautiful. This comes from Barbara J. Awareness, capital letters, AWARENESS, is all I feel and see. Svaha, svaha. Heart, 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 heart. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, this one's from Perry Magpie. Lately, when I ask myself, who am I find myself confronted with a profound silence, a vastness within me. Beautiful. Like a deep well where a pebble is dropped but never seems to hit the water. There's this sense of something echoing back, but it's so subtle and elusive that I struggle to describe it. Don't describe it. I can tell you wherever this question's going after this, the issue is right here. Tendency to try to describe. And that may just be a convention you're using, but that languaging, but it's an actual phenomenal experience. It's a phenomenon, right? The tendency to reflect. That's the answer to the rest of this question. So let's read it. And then almost automatically I tell myself, oh, that's just a thought. The thing is, when I seriously engage in self-inquiry and ask that question, there's no immediate answer, no thought or response, okay? It's just emptiness for a while. And then, dun, 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 I notice the absence of thoughts before they eventually start creeping back in, as if I'm caught in a loop and it's leaving me feeling a bit lost and confused about how to proceed. Why do you need to know how to proceed here? Right? That's the issue is when the sense of doership comes. Starts with labeling experience, orienting to experience, defining experience. Then the next is, what are you going to do about it? By the time you're already thinking about what you're going to do about something, those other steps have already occurred, right? A sense of I like it or I don't like it has crept in. A sense of a labeling has crept in. A sense of some mental formation, right? Just like the aggregates. And then that sense of doership can be very strong when it's backed by all of that. What do I do about this? Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And yeah, then that just can lead to thought trains and thought trains and thought trains. So I would say, notice you don't have to label it, right? Right up here where you said it. There's a sense of something echoing, but it's so subtle and elusive, I struggle to describe it. Okay, notice that. Why is there a belief? If you struggle to describe, there's a belief that says you should be describing it or able to describe it. Look for the belief. Get under it, right? The other one is, the feeling that you're caught in a loop. How do you know? There's no loop. There's no time. Yeah? Drop that pebble again. And then lost and confused is fine. It's okay to feel lost and confused. You don't need to know what to do about that. Yeah. And then the last part, how to proceed. You don't need to know how to proceed. Drop the pebble. Awesome. Good question. Good comment. Okay. This is Christina. I never understood the term trust your own experience. You never explained it, and I always wanted an explanation to find it. Sometimes I don't give explanations because I want you to figure it out yourself. Let's see where this goes. I think I understood it experientially now. To me, it means that everything is this. See? Isn't that great? So much better if you discover it for yourself. The mind worrying, thinking, being nervous, being sad, thinking I never wake up. Whatever it is, It's already this. Oh my gosh, so good. No experience can be apart from it. That's right. I got an understanding of this, but still not an awakening sense. How do you know? How do you know? That's doubt. Doubt says, there's insight here, but it's not awakening. That's a doubt. That's just one thought, right? That's just what's happening. That thought is what's happening. That doubt is what's happening. But when you start to separate yourself from experience, then you believe it. Don't separate yourself from experience. And as you actually said it right here, but me thinking I am not awakened is also it. Very good. Isn't that wonderful? There you go. What more do you need than that? Awesome. Okay, this is from Apparent Being. I like that. Who needs enlightenment? Hint, Buddha was foolish prince who didn't understand real life. Okay. Well, I don't know how much we know about Buddha, but okay. Common people already know, but he had to suffer 6 years under the tree before he realized. I don't know if that's a koan or just I don't know what that is. I'm not really sure what you're saying here. All right, this is from J. Wluffy. I think I'm starting to experience it. It kind of feels like love buzzing in and around me. And I feel like I'm genuinely watching and appreciating my thoughts instead of being the thoughts. Awesome. And you also, once you disidentify, like watching the thoughts, you're not those thoughts. You're not being those thoughts. Can you also now identify with that entirety of consciousness in which all of that is just apparently occurring? But it's only apparent because it's only relative in that space of consciousness. Consciousness never loses its totality, just like the ocean never loses its totality if a wave appears and disappears. Very cool. But sometimes I can still be suffering, but still feel it at peace and stillness at the same time. That's great. That's good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. Good. Because the suffering and the appearance of the suffering and the sense of the suffering coming and going, or being aware of it coming and going, all of that is happening within this totality of consciousness, right? In the way you're speaking. Very cool. Let's see what else we got here. There's a quote here from Todd. Unless you forget everything, you will never live in the heart. Ashtavakra Gita. That's beautiful. Love it. I think that's true. Can you forget everything right now? Can you forget everything? Or stop convincing yourself that you remember everything through a mental formation, through a mental image, through reflection. Do you really know anything but this? Right? It's right here. It's available to you. It's not an it. Conduit to infinity. What do you know besides this? Rearranged reflections. Old, worn out stories. Copy of a 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 copy. This is from Josh. I love this shit. Awesome, Josh. This is about the video. This is all that is. Cool. Glad you like it. Okay, this is from Bernie Kitching. The world is full of minds and bodies in which the spontaneous laughter of the dreamer infinitely arises in the present. But there are no people. There never have been. The individual is the imaginary narrator telling an imaginary story of an imaginary character. Imaginary characters cannot learn, evolve, and wake up unless you think Bugs Bunny has the potential to awaken. That's funny. Bugs Bunny can't awaken because Bugs Bunny is a dream. Yeah. Bugs Bunny is a story. But what can happen is awakeness can wake up from the story. That's kind of how I would say it. So don't, just because you know it's a dream, just because you know that the mental world of mental formations and stories and narratives and reflective mind, just because you realize that's a dream, doesn't mean you have the clear insight of what's sort of beyond the dream. Or it's not beyond, it's primary to the dream. It's vastly beyond the limitations of the dream. It's just not structured in dream material. Doesn't mean that doesn't exist. So don't conclude that too soon. Right? Yeah. I won't say any more about that. This is from Bernie Kitching. If you ever wake up and realize you never existed, all that spiritual practice is going to seem pretty silly. It does and it doesn't. Yeah, that's true. It's not any more or less, but the thing is, it's not any more or less silly than anything else. So there you go. Okay. This is from Joseph Mitchell. I wish I could force all my friends and family to watch this. This is the one called, Do You Remember When You Realized It Was All a Lie? Better yet, it's an important message for all humanity. But in the end, I know I will go through this alone, and that is okay. Good. That's a very mature point of view. I'm grateful to you, Angelo. I'm glad that you are serious about this. Serious about truth, yeah? Yeah, we can't force our family and friends to be engaged in this kind of stuff. I learned that a long time ago. But I still, even when I didn't try actively, there was still some hope, right? That's gone now too. Meaning, things don't go the way I want them to. They just go the way they go. And what I found is the more I've let go of that, the more likely it is that family members will actually be interested. But I can't make that happen at all. I can't put my finger on that scale. But it's still important to be aware of those inclinations we have. And a lot of them just come from our own compassion. So it's normal. This is from Buddhist girl. I just thought of what may be the cosmic joke. How could I believe it was impossible to wake up when I have already been doing the impossible, being asleep, staying asleep? Totally. Yes. That's why it's almost funny when people are like trying to actively convince me how not everyone can wake up, meaning they can't wake up. It's like putting on a mask, right? You put on a mask at a Halloween party, and then you get so tired of being that character, you forget that you're not the character, and you think you are that character, and all of it comes with being that character of the mask, and the mask is uncomfortable and all this. And finally, I'm like, okay, the party's over. You want to just take the mask off? And like, no, this is not a mask. They're like defending the mask. No, this is not a mask. It's impossible to take this mask off. I'm like, no, you can take it off. No, it's impossible. Right? It's impossible to convince yourself that the mask is real when it's not, or that it's you when you're not the mask. Yeah. It seems impossible, and yet it happens all the time. So I agree with you. It takes more effort, more delusion, more everything to stay asleep. This is from Thank You Very Much. She said, pain is the touchstone of all spiritual progress. Yeah. I mean, to say all is maybe a little bit too universal. I think it's huge. The willingness to feel whatever needs to be felt, and some of it's going to be painful, is huge. And it's often, maybe it is probably the most overlooked part of this process, or the most overlooked aspect, that even when you overtly know, like, no, I'm willing to feel pain, and you are, there's still things you're unwilling to feel and you won't even know it for a while. That really is a huge part of this, probably the biggest aspect to this whole deal. I will also say, though, that there is something that also drives it that's like an orientation to truth. That's the best way I can say it. There's just something that knows. Joseph Campbell said, there's something in you that knows when you're on the beam and when you're off the beam in life. I think that's true. So there's also that. But yeah, very good point. Okay. This is from Larry Dunovan. Does there really need to be a distinction between awareness and consciousness? No, definitely not. In fact, there is no distinction between anything anywhere, because there's no between, because there aren't things, and there's no where. So that's the truth in a very real way. of speaking. It's a very direct experience. So then why do these words come? Like awareness and blah, blah, blah. All these obscure words, consciousness and all. They're pointers. That's all. They're like waypoints, I think. Yeah. Then he said, I feel like awareness would be just the contentless aspect of consciousness. Yeah. And the distinction has been made by many. I'm sure Nisargadatta very specifically made this point. And he described it pretty much like what you're saying. Awareness obviously has no conscious aspect. It's bare awareness. Something like deep sleep. There's still some awareness, maybe where the dead body doesn't have it. Deep sleep, someone makes a really loud noise, you'll wake up. There's something aware, but it's not a self-consciously experiencing state. Do you need to make that distinction? No, not necessarily. Awakening happens for people who don't have this distinction in their mental models at all. So I don't know if it matters. Okie dokie. I think that's it for now. But we'll do more later. I like your comments and questions. Please keep them coming. I do what I can to answer them. Obviously, I get a lot more than I used to, so I can't answer them all, but I will try to do these, and periodically I go through and answer them as well in text. So thanks all for your watching, for doing the work, and leaving awesome comments and questions that I can jump on and do my best to answer and flail sometimes. Someone on this last comment, this is on the video of Lisa Carnes. Lisa Carnes is the OG, someone said. This is from Weird Universe. She's one of the OGs. There's OGs than she is, though. Like, let's say Gangaji, Adyashanti, but even before him, Gangaji, Papaji, Ramana, Nisargadatta. And we can go way back, like Shankara, or like Patanjali, Buddha, Dogen. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of people interested in waking up. Okay, that's it.